That said, our primary purpose is to entertain, and where we can entertain responsibly, obviously we try to do that. We try to have a positive impact on the world. But the first thing we need to do is entertain.
There was an in-depth piece, like a behind-the-scenes piece, talking about how they've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now.
It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White.
That laugh.
That is
not going to be saved by
You
the
wrote
prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
AMC dropping Disney's live-action Snow White from all its theaters sent shockwaves through Hollywood. This was supposed to be a big win for Disney, backed by a classic fairy tale and some serious star power. But instead of magic, it turned into a total disaster. Analysts and fans were floored when AMC announced it was done with the film, calling it a dead weight that was draining money. Ticket sales tanked so hard, it made no financial sense to keep it on the big screen any longer. One exec even said, "It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely rewrote Snow White." That line alone lit up the internet. Not even Disney's powerhouse marketing could rescue this train wreck. The project had been drowning in drama since day one. Public meltdowns, wild rumors from the set, and cast shakeups that only made things worse. Fans turned on the movie fast, and the outrage just kept snowballing. The promos hyped a bold, new version of the tale with rising star Rachel Zegler and A-lister Gal Gadot. But behind the scenes, total chaos. One misstep after another turned the film into a full-blown fiasco, so bad that AMC pulled the plug early, something they almost never do. Industry insiders scrambled to figure out how things got this bad. Some folks said audiences were just over Disney constantly flipping its classics into modern takes that didn't land. Others blamed Rachel Zegler's bold public comments and a clumsy PR strategy that felt fake and forced. It only added fuel to a fire already blazing. Whatever the reason, the outcome was brutal. The film's box office was a total flop, and all the bad press made it impossible for AMC to justify keeping it on screens any longer. The movie went from hopeful hit to hard lesson almost overnight. This whole mess became a warning sign for studios everywhere, like a giant flashing red light. Joe Rogan even went off about it on his podcast, breaking down the disaster moment by moment. He pointed out that AMC's decision wasn't just about bad ticket sales, it was a cultural wake-up call. People saw right through the hype. Disney's usual cheat codes, big names, loyal fans, and flashy marketing weren't enough this time. Not even close! Things really started spiraling when Rachel Zegler's interviews hit the airwaves. Her unexpected comments on The View and some off-script social media posts didn't line up with Disney's polished messaging at all. What was supposed to be a simple promo turned into a viral spectacle, live and unfiltered in front of a studio audience. Joe Rogan pointed out that even under normal circumstances, that kind of moment would have done damage. But when you throw in major changes to a beloved story, that's when things blew up. It was the perfect storm, and the backlash hit hard. It didn't start off messy, though. At first, Rachel Zegler looked like a solid pick. She had the pipes, a modern edge, and the potential to connect old fans with a new generation. But once leaks started revealing how much of the original Snow White had been changed, entire character arcs scrapped, themes flipped, fans felt betrayed, that's when it all flipped. What was supposed to be a retelling turned into a rework. And not in a good way. Fans began to question if Disney had gone too far, stripping away the emotional soul of the original just to chase trends. Fans weren't having it. They felt Rachel Zegler's tone made the original Snow White sound like some dusty relic that didn't deserve any respect. The internet lit up with furious reactions. Instead of being seen as the new face breathing life into a classic, people started pointing fingers at her, calling her the main reason everything went sideways with the remake. To be fair, Disney tried to clean up the mess. They lined up a wave of talk show appearances, hoping to shift the vibe before the movie dropped. The goal? Get ahead of the backlash so it wouldn't crush opening weekend. But here's where it got messy. Rachel wasn't following the script. She clashed with Disney's PR game, refusing to let the studio control her voice. She doubled down on her own posts, proudly saying she wouldn't back down or water herself down just to fit a corporate narrative. In another situation, that bold attitude might have earned some serious respect. But with a project this touchy and fans fiercely protective over the OG Snow White, it just poured more gas on the fire. Some critics said her tone came off as smug toward longtime fans. Supporters defended her, saying she was standing up for a modern take, pushing for more representation and inclusivity. Still, the real headline became the messy clash between an outspoken star and one of the biggest media empires on Earth. Talk about a mess. Conversations about the film's artistic choices got totally drowned out by all the drama and box office panic. Behind closed doors, word was that Disney execs were sweating. Bob Iger had just stepped back into his power seat, known for keeping the ship steady during rough waters. But this time, even he seemed to be losing his grip. Instead of a clear game plan, fans got a front row seat to a chaotic rollout. Mixed messages from the cast, whispers of behind-the-scenes tension, and a growing feeling that nobody really knew how bad things had gotten. And then came The View, the moment everything cracked wide open. Disney picked that show on purpose, hoping for a safe, feel-good setup. Daytime TV, big audience, perfect for damage control. Or so they thought. The goal was for Rachel Zegler to smooth things over, speak to fans directly, and show that this reboot still carried the heart of the original. But that's not how it played out. Insiders say The View's production crew had clear marching orders straight from Disney, talking points, safe subjects, and a roadmap Rachel Zegler was supposed to follow. But the second the cameras started rolling, it was clear she had no plans to play along. She steered the convo toward political topics that had nothing to do with the film and brushed off the carefully crafted lines the studio wanted her to stick to. Behind the scenes, the producers were scrambling. They tried nudging her back toward the script, but you could see the tension playing out live. She wasn't budging. Zegler made bold statements that critics later slammed as flat-out inflammatory, calling the original film's themes outdated and telling nostalgic fans they needed to move on and accept change. For folks already unsure about the remake, that was the last straw. Social media exploded within minutes. Fans felt like they were being talked down to, and the backlash got ugly fast. Then came the real meltdown. People in the audience said chaos broke out behind the cameras, staff waving frantically, trying to pivot the segment or shut it down altogether. But Zegler wasn't having it. She held her ground and doubled down on everything she said, ignoring every attempt to reel her in. The segment went off the rails so fast that even The View's hosts, Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, and Sunny Hostin, were caught scrambling just to keep the show moving. Things got so wild that security or staff reportedly had to escort Rachel Zegler off set, and the cameras cut to a jarring commercial break. Most of the meltdown never officially aired, but that didn't stop the chaos. Partial clips and eyewitness accounts hit the internet within minutes, sparking a full-blown media frenzy. It was everywhere. Memes, reaction videos, outrage posts. The internet had a field day, and just like that, every single convo about Snow White led straight back to that explosive moment on live TV. Joe Rogan didn't hold back in his podcast recap either. He called it a straight-up PR nightmare. Disney didn't just lose control, they did it on the biggest stage possible in real time with millions watching. Damage control kicked in right away. But the moment had already taken on a life of its own. It became a rallying cry for critics who saw the new Snow White as a total misstep. To them, Zegler's meltdown was proof she was too headstrong for a gig that needed some level of corporate teamwork. But not everyone saw it that way. Her fans said she was just speaking her truth and standing firm. Meanwhile, other cast members, like Gal Gadot, who landed a major role, barely got a word in. Some believed her star power could have balanced things out, if only the spotlight hadn't been totally hijacked. Once the meltdown storyline took over, Gal Gadot basically vanished from the spotlight. Joe Rogan even mentioned on his podcast that behind-the-scenes whispers suggested tension between the two stars. Rumors started swirling that Rachel Zegler had made private digs at Gadot's background or political beliefs, though nothing was ever confirmed. Still, the damage was done. These rumors only added to the feeling that the whole production was full of drama and division. Any shot at the cast coming together with a united front? Gone. Gadot kept her distance from the chaos, sticking to safe, generic comments about being excited for the film. Some folks figured she was just protecting her image, playing it cool to avoid getting dragged into the mess. But that meant the movie lost all the energy and unity Disney was banking on. The happy, feel-good promo vibe got completely replaced with gossip, side-eyes, and non-stop drama about whether the cast was actually feuding. Fans weren't shy about how they felt either. Social media lit up with hashtags like #NotMySnowWhite. People were upset, not just about the plot changes, but the vibe. Some longtime fans felt like the remake disrespected the heart of the classic, while others were straight up mad about how Zegler came off when talking about Disney's older legacy. Opening weekend numbers told the whole story, and it wasn't pretty. Despite Disney throwing a mountain of cash at promotion, the film still flopped, missing even the lowest box office predictions. Theater chains like AMC, which had cleared space expecting a smash hit, were left showing the movie to rows of empty seats. A lot of parents just weren't feeling it. Some thought the film was too caught up in drama. Others were simply turned off by all the negative headlines leading up to the release. With ticket sales cratering, AMC was forced to face reality. Usually, a big Disney title gets a solid, guaranteed run in theaters. It's supposed to be a win-win for both the studio and the cinemas. But this time, it was a whole different story. As the bad press kept stacking up, AMC saw the numbers drop harder than expected. It got to the point where keeping the movie on screen was actually losing them money. The buzz wasn't helping, it was hurting. Even with a huge budget and flashy visuals, people were just done. The controversy had completely poisoned the vibe. So AMC made a move no one saw coming. They pulled the movie entirely. Industry vets were stunned. For a major Disney release to get yanked this fast? Unheard of. The timing varied depending on location, but not long after the bomb dropped, AMC officially confirmed it. They were out, and the movie was done. When AMC was asked about the situation, execs didn't sugarcoat it. They straight up said the film's poor performance didn't justify keeping it on their screens. Behind the scenes, theater managers had been complaining for days. Some reported near empty rooms. Others said customers were openly ignoring the Snow White poster or even laughing at it, especially after the meltdown made headlines everywhere. This wasn't just a bad weekend. It became a full-on cultural flop. The chaos had gone so mainstream that AMC was backed into a corner. Some industry voices speculated that AMC's move might cause friction with Disney, but others believed Disney may have quietly agreed with the pull because dragging it out would have only made things worse. If the money wasn't coming in, why keep sinking deeper into the mess? Better to cut losses and shift focus to the next big thing. Joe Rogan locked onto that decision, calling it a major turning point. To him, this wasn't just about one theater chain adjusting its schedule. It was a warning shot to the entire system. That tight relationship between Disney and major theaters, it's not bulletproof anymore. If a film sparks too much heat and doesn't deliver at the box office, even the biggest titles can get yanked fast. He doubled down on the View meltdown as the key moment. Before that, there was still a chance casual moviegoers might show up out of curiosity. But once that footage and all the drama around it exploded online, any hope of middle ground interest vanished. People either tuned out or turned against it. The meltdown didn't just cause a dip, it shattered the illusion that this was ever a normal release. The meltdown didn't just rattle fans, it exposed a production teetering on the edge of total chaos. It also turned into a warning shot for Hollywood about the risks of live interviews. Normally, publicity tours are tightly managed. Stars are prepped, the message is clean, and every word feels scripted. But The View? That was a whole different beast. In that live, unscripted setting, the studio lost control in real time. Once Rachel Zegler started speaking her truth, the producers had zero chance of shutting it down. They tried, but it was too late. The meltdown exploded and echoed through every corner of the industry. Disney's efforts to cover it up only made things worse. It came off like they were trying to silence her instead of owning the moment. That move backfired, making the studio look even more out of touch. Fans who were barely paying attention suddenly tuned in, not to support the film, but to watch the train wreck unfold live. Meanwhile, Bob Iger's leadership started getting questioned. He'd stepped back into power right as Disney was juggling a pile of remakes already in motion. In the past, just slapping the Disney name on a reboot was enough to pack theaters. It had worked over and over again. When the bad buzz starts spinning out of control, it doesn't matter how legendary the original material is. Audiences will turn their backs, fast. Critics jumped all over the meltdown, calling it proof that Disney had gotten lazy, thinking it could revamp a classic without showing love to what made it magical in the first place. But this mess didn't just show cracks in the movie, it exposed major flaws in Disney's entire PR game. Usually, the studios got everything locked down, execs, marketing, and stars all moving in sync. This time, that synergy collapsed. Instead of a smooth, polished rollout, the public saw nothing but mixed messages and chaos behind the scenes. And it wasn't just fans sounding off. Even folks tied to Disney's wider circle started speaking out against Rachel Zegler. One story that caught fire online involved a producer's own kid posting shady comments, accusing Zegler of being reckless and hurting the film. No one could say for sure if it was planned or just bad timing. But either way, it painted a picture of a production falling apart from the inside. Zegler didn't stay quiet about it either. She fired back, saying she was being scapegoated for problems way bigger than her. Her supporters backed her up, pointing out that even if she had stuck to the script, fans would have still been turned off by how much the film strayed from the heart of the original. That now infamous decision to yank Snow White from theaters completely? It hit like a bomb across the industry. Disney's live-action remakes usually stick around in theaters for weeks, sometimes longer depending on box office traction. For one to disappear so fast, that was unheard of, and it sent a loud message across Hollywood. Even the biggest studios can crash hard when the drama takes center stage over the actual film. The controversy got so out of hand, folks started saying the movie was unwatchable, not because of what was on screen, but because of the chaos surrounding it. Public reaction turned ice cold, and soon there was talk about whether other theater chains might follow AMC's lead. Turns out some smaller theaters already had. They quietly pulled the film after seeing empty seats night after night. But when AMC, the biggest movie chain in the country, cut ties, that was the nail in the coffin. Joe Rogan broke it down perfectly. In another time, Disney might have shrugged off the loss and leaned on DVD sales or international markets to make up the difference. But now, in an age of non-stop social media drama and 24/7 gossip cycles, that meltdown owned the narrative. Even people who barely follow movie news knew about the mess. The film was no longer tied to magic or charm. It was tied to backstage drama, a viral on-air clash, and a studio that couldn't keep its story straight. It became a symbol of how fast things can unravel when the spectacle off-screen overshadows everything else. The meltdown became the final nail in the coffin, the moment when even critics who had defended parts of the remake just gave up. It didn't matter how ambitious the adaptation was or what it could have been. After that chaotic fallout, nobody wanted to go to bat for it anymore. And suddenly, a harsh label started popping up in headlines. Box office poison with Rachel Zegler's name attached. Some insiders called that unfair. They argued it was way too much blame for one person to carry. Maybe the real issue was that the remake strayed too far from the original, turning off loyal fans before it even hit theaters. Others said the marketing was a mess, confusing, all over the place, and failing to tell audiences what kind of movie they were even getting. Still, no one could ignore that the View meltdown had become the film's defining moment. It completely hijacked the narrative. Posters and trailers had Rachel Zegler front and center. But when it came time for her to promote the film, the convo went way off the rails, confusing and frustrating the exact audience Disney had hoped to win over. Joe Rogan weighed in, suggesting that Disney might now tighten the rules for future live-action stars, possibly adding stricter clauses about media appearances to avoid another PR nightmare. Or maybe, he speculated, they'd try to find a smarter balance, protecting the brand without stifling creative voices. If future stars come off too robotic in interviews, just spitting out safe corporate lines, audiences will catch on fast, and that could spark a whole new kind of backlash. The irony of the meltdown? It showed that people actually crave sincerity, or at least the illusion of it. Rachel Zegler was definitely being real, but it wasn't the kind of real the public wanted to hear. In the days that followed, buzz started swirling about what Disney would do next. Some speculated they'd skip the rest of the theatrical run altogether and toss Snow White onto streaming sooner than planned, just to stop the bleeding. But even that move came with baggage. Dropping a big-name title onto Disney Plus too quickly can scream failure, making it look like they're trying to bury the project. Still, with AMC and other theaters bailing, Disney's options were running out. They had to cut their losses one way or another. Joe Rogan didn't hold back. He said the meltdown's legacy would hang over both Disney and Rachel Zegler for a while. Studios might start side-eyeing Ziegler's future roles, watching closely to see if she'd stir the pot again with bold interviews. And for Disney, this was a wake-up call. Rogan also pointed out the comedic gold the meltdown turned into. Late-night shows roasted it, and social media lit up with memes. From jokes about empty AMC theaters to dramatic captions like "The day Snow White died," the internet went wild. Disney, usually known for its airtight control over public image, took a real hit this time. The meltdown struck a nerve. It captured a cultural moment where people were fed up with what they saw as corporate overreach. Sure, audiences are cool with modern takes and fresh spins if they feel genuine. But once folks get the sense that a remake is just a hollow cash grab that trashes the original, they'll flip on it fast. Throw in one of the lead actors dropping explosive takes on live TV, and yeah, there was no coming back from that. No amount of PR magic could clean it up. The situation was too far gone. And once AMC, a key player in the movie theater game, publicly announced it was pulling the film, that was the moment. That was the image that locked everything in place. AMC's official channels saying it's over became the final scene in a drama-packed saga. That wasn't just a business move. It was the symbol that turned the meltdown from a rough patch into a full-blown industry cautionary tale. What was supposed to be just another promo turned into the awkward blip that redefined a whole production. This version of Snow White won't be remembered for bold storytelling or a modern twist. It'll go down in history for the meltdown that tanked its rep and sent AMC, the biggest theater chain in the country, sprinting for the exit. That single moment didn't just wreck a movie, it shook the whole industry. Now, studios are on high alert, rethinking everything from how they train their stars to how far they can push modern without losing the heart of what made a classic special, because no one wants another meltdown on their hands. If you enjoyed the breakdown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the wildest moments in entertainment. Catch you on the next one.